Right, moving on to other updates, Republic has now exclusively accessed the affidavit of the Karnataka government in the hijab controversy, and we'll be getting you that document on your screens, which clearly mentions that the government wants to maintain uniformity, cohesiveness and public order, which are indispensable to an educational institution. It also goes on to say that the petitioners cannot be allowed to wear the hijab as it violates the dress code. Rhythm, if you can give us more details as to what exactly has now been mentioned in the affidavit.
Let's tell our viewers that we're breaking down the affidavit of the Karnataka government, which Amita is so crystal clear. It's been accessed by Sagar Raj. And before I go across to Sagar Raj, let me tell you quickly the finer print and the finer points in it that are so crucial here. The government says the petitioners cannot be allowed to wear the hijab inside the premises of the institution. If they do, they violate the dress code and disciplinary action can be taken against them. We're also going to try and go across to Sagar Raj, but the 4 quick points that I want to give here, the government wants to maintain uniformity, cohesiveness, public order, which are indispensable to an educational institution. So the government of Karnataka comes out in an affidavit and gives out great details about why they want to go ahead and have a dress code for uniformity. They say the petitioners cannot be allowed to wear the hijab as it violates the dress code. They also say educational institutions and students should not be allowed to wear religious symbols. At one point in the affidavit that has just been read by Sagar Raj and me, it's very evident and very clear. They've said that this is not an essential practice of religion. They've said educational institutions are not a place to profess religion. And on the contrary, students have to maintain uniformity. So a very strongly and a very fairly worded affidavit coming in from the government of Karnataka, where the government is crystal clear that at such points, it is not necessary to be wearing a hijab or to be wearing a religious symbol inside the school to maintain cohesiveness. The one point they've also said that we clearly mentioned is crystal clear. The government says the educational institution is not a place to preach, profess religion. Uniformity has to be maintained there. Let me go across to Sagar Raj, who accessed that affidavit. Sagar Raj, a very crystal clear affidavit from the government of Karnataka saying that an educational institution should not be used as a place to profess religion.
And the Karnataka government from day one, when they spoke to
and profess any kind of religion. That's the reason they said that there is a blanket ban for both hijab and saffron shawls. They will not be allowing any students with the saffron shawls, and they will not be allowing any students with hijab or any other religious thing which can profess their religion inside the education institution. And subsequently, we also access to this particular affidavit, which has been filed by Advocate General of Karnataka with Karnataka High Court yesterday, which clearly indicates that their argument is against any kind of violation in the dress code. It says that people, whoever is wearing any dress apart from the uniform, definitely violates the rules and the norms of the college as well as the government.
Yes, and Sagar Raj, in fact, the affidavit that has been accessed by you that we were going through had some very crystal clear points. Viewers, I want to make this evident that today the hearing is going to be at 2:30 p.m. Yesterday, for over 4 hours, Justice Dixit's bench of the Karnataka High Court heard the matter. Also remember, yesterday in Udupi, there was simultaneous protests that had broken out while the hearing was going on, and an appeal for calm and peace had been stated by the bench of the Karnataka High Court. At the same time, it's also the Chief Minister yesterday, viewers, who had then said that educational institutions in the state shall be closed for 3 days. Going back to a very high octave hearing that we're possibly going to see in roughly 4 hours from now in the Karnataka High Court. Yesterday, the petitioners' lawyers made their points, but twice the Advocate General got up in the court and said, please be careful about the statements that you make so that there is no danger that can suddenly happen. What are the points in the affidavit that have been made, viewers? Let's also tell you that the affidavit, it's around 42 pages, has been filed in the Karnataka High Court. The affidavit, like Sagar Raj, who's accessed it, is breaking down, is saying every religion has its own belief. When exceptions are given to one community, it might create chaos. Every religion, therefore, many of the countries abroad, it also says, have adopted this view and have strictly implemented following a uniform dress code. At one point, Sagar Raj, in the affidavit that we were going through, it clearly also mentioned that none of these people had any such protest at the start of the educational year. It's only now that it's possible that this has come. Even yesterday, an important statement was made by Justice Dikshit where he said only mischievous elements would try to have the fire burning. Let me go across to Aneri also. Aneri, you were outside the court yesterday. We saw Sageraj covering those protests. What's the general feel you're getting from the court hearing that's going to begin in 4 hours from now?
Well, Ridhim, that was one of the major hearing which took place at the Karnataka High Court in regard with the controversy going on in the state of Karnataka. And as we have been seeing now, the Justice Dikshit has had adjourned the matter till today at 2:30. We will be seeing once again the matter coming up at the Karnataka High Court, and all eyes on that as it's one of the crucial hearings which will be taking place. But also in the meantime, let me remind you that there is a cabinet meeting which is going to be held at 11 a.m. at Vidhan Soda. As we continue to report from outside Vidhan Soda, cabinet meeting at 11 a.m. where Chief Minister of Karnataka Basmaraj Mumbai along with other ministers are also going to be there at the cabinet meeting. And also we see that major decisions are likely to be taken, as we see that Karnataka Chief Minister yesterday had announced a 3-day holidays for all the schools and colleges amid the roar of the hijab controversy. And also when we happen to speak to the Education Minister of Karnataka, he says the situation in the state of Karnataka is absolutely under control, and also will make sure that no protest takes place. And also Justice Dikshit, during his judgment yesterday before adjourning the matter to today, he had requested that everyone should maintain peace and calm in the state of Karnataka. No protest should be held because they cannot see students coming out on streets protesting over this issue. And so we can expect some major decision to be taken at the cabinet meeting which is going to be held at 11 a.m. at Vidhan Soda. Karnataka Chief Minister is expected to arrive in some time from now here at Vidhan Soda for 11 a.m. cabinet meeting. And post the cabinet meeting, we are also expecting that there would be some sort of announcement by the Karnataka government so that we can see how the hijab controversy at 2:30 we will be seeing that the matter is going to come up at the Karnataka High Court as well.
Rhythm, if I can come back to you on that, because the government now clearly has made it in that affidavit mentioning that they want to maintain uniformity and public order, which are indispensable to an educational institution. Now, that's the point that has been made by the government very clear, that the petitioners that they cannot be allowed to wear religious identity, including the hijab, as it violates the dress code in educational institutes.
That is the larger point that was asked on the debate yesterday by our editor-in-chief Arnab Goswami, where we're only trying to get in a sense of this hijab row and whether it's also got any political overtones. The question that we need to also understand and ask today is, should students be dressing as per their religion or as per their institution? Why do we say this? Because the affidavit of the government is also crystal clear on another point, Amita. The uniform's purpose. What is the purpose of an educational institution having a uniform? It is to promote equality. It is to granting any exception to any student, the affidavit says, would lead to a distinctive identity, which is not good for the child's development. So when so many facets are being given out, and also keeping in mind that this particular protest did not happen at the start of the educational year, it does seem like Justice Dikshit was also stating there should be no evidence of anyone trying to do anything untoward for any purposes. And as we're about to move on, the last point I want to say as 2:30 that Aneri was talking about this hearing, the court has said these are not good things. Do not disturb the court. Maintain calm. If we see fire and blood on TV, we are disturbed. Our heart and intellect is word. Keeping that as the last point before we go back to the 2:30 hearing. In roughly 4 hours from now, Amita, it's back to you, where Sageraj accessing that crucial government affidavit. We'll see the government stand today in the High Court.
Absolutely. So, Sageraj Aneri, and I'm told that Ananya is also with us right now, because Ananya, you were tracking all that were happening in the court proceedings yesterday, and the hearing is all set to resume today. It has been made clear by the state government that educational institutions, the students should not be allowed to wear religious symbols, and this is where the dress code or the uniform code is violated. All right, Ananya will be back with us, but we are keeping an eye out on the today's developments as the hearing will be resuming in the High Court today at around 2:30. Thanks very much to everyone.